If you stood on the shores of the Bargi Dam reservoir during a calm afternoon, the massive body of water looked completely tranquil. It was the perfect backdrop for a sightseeing tour. On April 30th, 2026, somewhere between 40 and 45 tourists walked down to the docks and boarded a local cruise boat. But as the passengers settled into their seats, a critical safety protocol was quietly bypassed. The boat was equipped with life jackets, but instead of being handed out to the tourists, they were kept neatly packed away in storage lockers. The operators treated the excursion as a completely routine trip. By leaving the flotation gear out of reach, they unknowingly stripped away the only safety net those passengers would have if the water suddenly turned violent. Looking at this animated map of the reservoir, we can see the boat plotting a course roughly 300 meters out from the Camaria Island shoreline. Out in the deep water, the vessel was physically isolated from any immediate rescue. Between 3 and 4 o'clock, the serene environment vanished. Heavy, dark storm clouds rapidly rolled in over the dam, signaling a massive atmospheric pressure drop. Even as the sky darkened and the wind began to visibly whip across the water, the crew made no move to open the storage lockers. The life jackets stayed exactly where they were. Floating far from the shore with passengers entirely unprotected, the vessel had exhausted all its safety buffers. When the storm finally broke, the people on board had absolutely zero margin for error. The storm hit with brutal force. Winds accelerated from a stiff breeze to violent gusts of 60 to 70 kilometers per hour in minutes. Massive wind shear ripped across the surface of the reservoir, churning up aggressive waves that immediately began battering the side of the hull. Authorities suspect the vessel was overloaded. Extra human weight above the waterline created a top-heavy load, raising its center of gravity. When heavy waves slammed into the vessel, it rolled. The extreme angle forced the center of gravity outside the hull, flipping the boat. The capsize was a strict mathematical failure of weight distribution, instantly exposed by a sudden shift in the weather. Dozens were abruptly thrown into deep, churning water. Disoriented and battered by the squall, they were forced to tread water with bare hands. The life jackets were still right there on the sinking vessel, but locked inside storage compartments, they offered zero help to the drowning tourists. In a sudden capsize, you cannot swim back into a submerged cabin, retrieve a life vest, and strap it on while fighting massive waves. Emergency equipment fails its entire purpose if it requires a calm, orderly environment to deploy. If operators wait for the crisis to actually start before handing out the gear, they are already too late. Local agencies, along with the SDRF and NDRF, launched an immediate rescue operation. Battling the fading light and persistent storm conditions, they managed to pull 24 survivors from the water. But the dark water claimed its toll. Search teams confirmed 9 deaths by the following morning, with several other passengers still unaccounted for. During the search, divers made a devastating discovery beneath the surface. They found the body of a mother alongside her 4-year-old child. She had wrapped her arms around her child, her hands rigidly locked onto the young boy's back. She had held him tight to her chest, trying to shield him from the sinking vessel until her final breath. Those 2 deaths and the 7 others were the direct consequence of operators ignoring basic safety procedures to save a little time at the dock. In the aftermath, the state's chief minister ordered a magisterial inquiry into the disaster and announced financial compensation for the victims' families. However, when the state tourism minister arrived at the scene, he admitted to the press that he had absolutely no idea there was already a strict ban on operating petrol and diesel boats on the Narmada River. The official in charge of tourism oversight was completely unaware of his own department's basic operational rules. If the highest levels of administration do not even know what the safety protocols are, they cannot effectively monitor the local boat operators. A fierce gust of wind is what pushed the boat over, but a broken administrative system put an overloaded, improperly equipped boat out on that water in the first place, leaving dozens of innocent people completely defenseless.